Hi, my name is Neil Hayes. I'm the work package leader for Work Package 5, and I've been asked to give you an update on progress since October of 2022. Obviously, the year 2020 and 2021 were primarily taken up by COVID activities and the pandemic. By 2022, we had resumed our grant activities, including the sequencing of most of the 500 samples that we had received from IARC, especially if certain conditions were met. If the patients were larynx cancer, we needed to make sure that they had both germline and sufficient DNA for the larynx tumor for sequencing, and most of those cases were sequenced. If it was an oropharynx or oral cavity, we did not sequence germline, but did a deep sequencing. At some point, and I'm not sure exactly when this happened, we realized there was a materials issue with the methylation arrays, and we paused sequencing activities because we wanted to make sure that we had a methylation array for every DNA sample possible, because this was an integrated analysis and we didn't want to do sequencing if there's no methylation arrays. So we paused while some of those issues were resolved. It's also important to note that because of the pandemic, IARC had a challenge in isolating DNA because of construction undergoing at their facility. So we assumed the task of isolating DNA from about 1,000 cases that had not had DNA previously isolated. We received those cases in the late winter, early spring of 2023, and through 2023 we isolated DNA and quantified those samples. Once DNA was isolated and quantified, we needed to ensure that there was sufficient material to coordinate both methylation arrays and sequencing arrays, and that actually required some back and forth because there were failures and partial failures of more than half of the samples in terms of DNA yields. All of those issues have been resolved, and shipments have been prepared, and I think we're receiving and shipping those aliquots either this month or next month, which is February of 2024. During 2023, we also completed all of the sequencing for those cases that we had in-house, for which there was an expectation that the sample would be completed, and mostly this meant there was a plan for an integrated analysis for those samples. The team also started its integrated analysis of DNA, RNA, and methylation using historical published samples in the literature, and I think we'll hear about that in another presentation. And I hope that gives you some idea that the project, at least on the sequencing and methylation side, is very close to completion. Thank you.